And we now have Mayor Nancy Backus from Auburn, Washington.
Hi, Jim.
And Nancy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your involvement with NLC and what's brought you to this stage?
So I was a city council member for 10 years, and Auburn is a member city with National League of Cities, and I have served on the Fair Policy Committee in the past, and we have several members of our city council that are also on steering committees and policy committees. In fact, they're sitting right out there waving to us in the second row.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. I feel like I need to go out and read a book first. So I am really, really proud to be the mayor of the city of Auburn. We are located in the beautiful Pacific Northwest in the other Washington, and we have beauty abounds. We have great commerce. We are the home, the state, not Auburn. The state is home to a number of major corporations that you might have heard of: REI, Amazon, Getty Images, Boeing Company, a little company called Starbucks. So we have a great deal of major corporations in our state. We also have breathtakingly beautiful scenery. We have Mount Rainier, which you might have heard of, 14,000 feet tall. And we sit, as the city of Auburn, we sit in the foothills of Mount Rainier. So it's an active volcano, and if she blows, we go. So we have that going for us. But we also have some obstacles in our way for economic development. We live in a state that doesn't really allow a lot of opportunity for economic development incentives. Our toolkit isn't the same as most other states. Our state does not have redevelopment statutes like most of the rest of the country. While our state has recently implemented some tax increment financing type statutes, they're not regularly implemented in the cities because they're really difficult to try and get approved. Our state has been trying since the 1970s to create TIF programs, but most are defeated and cited as against the Washington State Constitution as the gifting of public funds. Since probably a good number of you here live in states with robust TIF and redevelopment statutes, I won't go into too much about what they are, but it is one of the obstacles that we have to overcome. Now, couple that with the fact that Washington is the #1 state, in the 2015 Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy report as having the most unfair state and local tax system in the country. And it does seem that the odds really aren't in our favor. So let's drill down to the city of Auburn in particular. We're located in the west part of the state, and we sit almost squarely between the cities of Seattle to our north and Tacoma to our south. And we are also a connector to the ports of Tacoma and the ports of Seattle. We're in King County, the largest and most populous county in the state. In fact, it makes up 60% of the population in our state. Now, more to the point, the city of Auburn is located in South King County, an area that was cited in the 2013 Brookings Institute study as a prime example of the suburbanization of poverty. Another thing we have going for us. So according to the study, more low-income people and immigrants are ending up in South King County because of Seattle's high cost of living. What makes that challenging, as most of us know that live in smaller cities, suburban cities often lack resources to help them, and the federal and state funds go to the larger cities. There's some more negative odds going for us. The short economic history of our city is that up until about the 1980s, Auburn was a growing and thriving city because of railroad, agriculture, and aerospace. And then we suffered the same demise as many Main Street USA cities. The loss of industry, the excitement of a shiny new enclosed mall in our town took away all interest in Main Street. It left us with a desolate downtown that had very few viable businesses, a couple of low-quality taverns, not a very inviting downtown. So we suffered through that decline for about 20 years and had many stops and starts along the way. And eventually we had some turnkey events, creative thinking, and in some cases, just the simple resolve of a blue-collar town making something work. The first major event that took place in Auburn was the construction of the commuter rail station in 2000. Ours was one of the first of those new projects, and we were able to be established as a downtown hub in the regional transportation network. But we still didn't have a vibrant downtown. The next year, our staff and City Council completed a comprehensive downtown plan and environmental impact statement. This not only gave us the framework for our future, but the EIS removed the need for future individual development projects to go through the time-consuming and very costly environmental review. From there, we looked hard at what sorts of things we could do to incentivize development in our city in spite of all the obstacles that I've mentioned. The first thing we knew that we needed to do was tackle the aging infrastructure underground. You can't attract 21st century business when you have clay pipes underground, and no fiber optics either. Through some of the hard work by our dedicated staff, we were able to secure a $3 million infrastructure grant from the U.S. Economic Development Administration, and we were awarded a 25-year, $250,000 annually local revitalization grant from the state of Washington that supports $7 million in bonded funds. And in 2010, we completed a $10 million transformation of a 3-block section in our downtown. Now, what's important about this feat is that it works towards securing these funds was taking place in the midst of a recession. And while we, like everyone else, were just trying to keep our heads above water, with program cuts, layoffs, and budget woes, we also knew that we needed to be ready on the other side of that recession. And I can tell you right now that we received a lot of criticism from people who didn't believe in what we were doing, especially in those difficult economic times. But once we knew we had our foundation, we started asking the question, what can we do to attract developers? We'd spent about 10 years assembling land, upgrading infrastructure, demolishing the old taverns, and updating our zoning and our standards. We were now left with 3 full blocks of vacant, undeveloped land. Still not very attractive. This is where a TIF program could have been incredibly useful to us, but since we didn't have that option, we decided to provide some local options. Between 2009 and 2014, we restrained development fees. We kept land use, building, and engineering-related fees at or near their 2009 levels so that we could help spur some economic development. This was a very intentional effort supported by the staff, the then mayor, and the city council. We deferred park, fire, traffic, and school impact fees along with system development charges for single-family residents, multifamily, and non-residential development in our downtown core catalyst area. Our goal was to provide financial relief for development in the early part of the development process. We gave a construction sales tax refund on the city's sales and use tax of up to $100,000 or 20% of the tax paid within specific land use zones for construction materials, equipment, labor, services, and machinery. We were able to offer small business assistance program to help businesses with 20 or fewer employees that were either starting up, growing, or relocating. We did that by reducing the fees by 50% for building and engineering. We encourage and we support small businesses in Auburn. Quite frankly, we love that entrepreneurial spirit. We authorized 75% reductions in building, planning, engineering, and park impact fees for certain catalyst properties in downtown, for development applications that were subject to a timetable for certain development-related activities. We imposed a deadline for the submittal, and the approval of their projects. We definitely gambled when we did that, but we believed that the reduction would be enough to attract them to come in. So we did it, and we waited, and we held our breath. And I'm happy to tell you that we had 2 projects that came in that met those deadlines, and we celebrated. There are other things that were mixed in with all of this, and all with the singular goal of redeveloping and revitalizing our downtown. And I can proudly say that we are now well on our way. We have a 5-story mixed-use residential building on Main Street with 128 market-rate apartments and 12,000 square feet of retail on the first floor. This new development blocks our City Hall view of Mount Rainier, that beautiful mountain, but I'm okay with that because new development downtown is an absolutely gorgeous site as well. That's blocking our view of Mount Rainier, but don't you think it's worth it? A second group of developers are set to develop 2 city blocks of residential retail projects that will increase the downtown density of our transit station area. This project will include 112 units of market-rate senior housing. With all of the new development, we can't ignore our existing businesses, the ones that stayed with us during the ugly economic times. My daddy used to say, make sure you dance with the one that brought you. You ever heard that comment before? So that means we need to take care of those businesses that stayed, that believed in the city of Auburn and stuck it out. So we have to figure out what we can do for them as well. Well, we partnered with our Greater Auburn Chamber of Commerce and our Auburn Downtown Association. We invited business owners from one end of Main Street to the other, business owners, property owners. We invited chamber members. We invited our planning commission. And we had every one of our 7 council members there because they care about what's going on downtown and they care about what's going on in our city. We invited in an urban planner. She took a few days walking around town, gave us our report card, and said, you know, you're not as bad as you believe you are. You're 75% of the way there. Don't beat yourself up over that other 25%. Just get busy and work on it. So that's what we're doing. I can't tell you how important it is to have a city council that's supportive of economic development, because in my opinion, it really is a major role of the city to be involved in economic development. So with that in mind, when we submitted our biennial budget this year, I asked for $50,000 each year to be used for facade improvements in downtown Auburn. That had to go to our city council for approval. Do you think they approved my $50,000 request? They didn't. They didn't. They increased it to $100,000 each year. That's the kind of belief in your own city that you need to have. Work together, roll up your sleeves, believe in your city, and know that you absolutely can do it. You might not have as many obstacles as we have, or you might have more. Pick them off one by one. Show everybody else how much you believe in your city, and they'll start believing in you as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Jim.
One thing, and I want to ask, when you mentioned the pushback from the citizens and others, the criticisms, what do you think is important for our audience? How do you get through that? Because it's a pressure that hits everyone.
It is a pressure, but you have to have a committed message that you're giving to everyone. Everyone has the same message that they're delivering, is that we believe in the future of our city. Yes, we have a lot of needs, and we weren't ignoring those needs, but we had to know that on the other side of the recession, if we didn't position ourselves, we were going to lose out, and we were not willing to lose out.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Nancy Backus.